Well, we've been talking about images. I suppose I come into this conversation and explain a little bit more about where they come from. I'm a museum person. In this case, I'm an art museum person. And our whole institution operates on the notion of collections and collecting. Years and years ago, the popular phrase to describe what museums do, what their mission is, was to conserve, collect, and elucidate. To take care of what you have, to bring more, and to elucidate, to let people know what this material is about. And there, as you know, there are all kinds of museums, libraries. Images tend, but not exclusively, tend to come from art museums. And in the course of this project and the whole Visualizing Cultures project, many institutions, museums in particular, have been very cooperative. How does a collection come about? There are many ways that it comes about, that museums come about, usually from a founder, someone who 50, 80, 100 years ago was interested in particular subjects. In the case of my museum or museums, these were people who collected Asian art, often at the turn of the century. This collection is gifted. An institution is created, and over time, generations of administrators and curators try, as we say, to grow the collection. We cultivate people, we seek donations, we try as intelligently as possible to make the original gift sing even more. So that's what we do. If you go to any art museum, Boston Museum of Fine Arts, the Metropolitan, the museums in Washington, on the Mall, you see only a small percentage of what is held on view, maybe 5–6% at most, and the rest is in some kind of storage. So the digital age for us was a major gift, and we're still learning how to try to use that gift. As you may note, there are many museums now that have online features that can take you into the collections, and some have interpretive features. But the important thing is that collections are getting out there, at least on your computer screens. And Visualizing Cultures has been one of the prime movers in showing not only how to get images from institutions, but also how to treat them thematically. In the case of the topics we're discussing in this MOOC, of course, my own institution, the Freer Gallery of Art and the Arthur M. Sackler Gallery, made great use of a collection, a sub-collection called the Robert O. Muller Collection. Mr. Muller was a famous collector of prints. He passed away in 2003. But he collected images about Japan that were essentially about this modern era, roughly from 1870 to the end of World War II. And not many people understood why he was collecting them, because those prints were not popular during his lifetime. So it's interesting now that there's extreme popularity of these modernizing images, and we're able to use them. We also borrowed from a collection in Miami Beach, actually, South Beach, the Wolfe Museum, which is a fascinating place, and I recommend if you're ever in that area to visit, because it's a museum that discusses design, modernity, the growth of different political movements, all in one bundle. And we borrowed from them, particularly for the Koizumi Kishio part. And then Tokyo National Museum, where we have great friends and colleagues, let us borrow images quite liberally to create these productions. The Carnegie Museum in Pittsburgh was another collaborator. So while there were difficulties along the way with any number of institutions, there were people who really opened their hearts and their collections and saw the vision that Visualizing Cultures had.
One of the interesting things in working with Jim was going to Washington, D.C. and looking at his exhibition that he designed on the Kyochika prints.
Mm-hmm.
And as a designer, you have to think about, well, how can people learn in the way that you place images? Should they be in a series? Should they be in a grid? Or what's going to make them meaningful in and of themselves? And one thing that curators do is design exhibitions. And so they choreograph how you're going to go through this set of images and look at the whole set, or walk up and look close. What's next to what? juxtapositions are very, very important in terms of how we understand a visual material. It's always compare and begin to understand more, and then strategically placing your captions. So I think it's really interesting to think about those things when you're doing your own digital designs and trying to make images coherent and tell their own stories.
Mm-hmm.